Hi everyone. In this video we're going to go through a review of the Elgato Game Capture HD60. Now this is a new capture card. It's got some interesting new features, and it will be pretty interesting for those that are sort of just getting into capturing and or streaming their video games. It's not a pro level card by any means, but it does have some interesting features that I think some gamers and YouTubers and the like are going to be really interested in. So let's get right into some of the big features. The biggest one is the 1080p 60 frames per second capture. This is a resolution and frame rate that the Xbox One and PS4 often do hit, if not natively, pretty close to. And the HD60 captures at this frame rate and resolution. It doesn't just pass through the signal to your TV and then capture at some lower resolution, which previous generation capture cards would do. The other big feature is it actually does this over USB 2.0. There are other capture cards that have to do USB 3.0. There are some caveats to this, and we'll explain more about why that's a hard thing to do a little bit later. I'm sticking with the big features right now. And the third biggest feature is the Game Capture 2.0 software. This is some new stuff by Elgato. It actually works on their previous capture cards, but it supports this newest one too. And it really is kind of a one-stop shop. It's got some limitations, and we'll go into those. But it's pretty good software. It needs some work though, and again we'll go into that. And the fourth big feature I would probably say on this Elgato card is it's very small, light, and very easy to use. So the big thing I want to talk about first is the 1080p 60 frames per second capture. Is this something that we need, that we're ready for, and that we can actually make use of right now? The simple answer is we will need it. We can't make use of it just yet, and the streaming and video services that are friendly to gaming videos and gaming streams don't really make use of 1080p 60 very well right now. And so this capture card is a little bit ahead of its time. 1080p 60 is a high resolution, high frame rate format, and it makes games look wonderful. It really does. We're seeing now console gamers are now starting to really enjoy seeing 1080p 60 frames. The thing is, though, is that YouTube still doesn't technically support it. They do. Well, I guess technically they do, in that there have been a couple of videos posted on YouTube that do use 1080p 60 frames, but they were sort of proof of concept videos. The general public cannot actually they can upload 1080p 60 videos, 60 frames, and they will not come out as such when you actually post them. That's as of this video's posting. At some point in the future, yes, YouTube will have 1080p 60. It's just a question of how long is it going to take, and what kind of quality reduction will we see. Is it going to be sort of at the same bit rate as a 1080p 30 video, or is it actually going to run at a higher bit rate so that it looks right, or it looks at least as good as a 1080p 30? That's really up to YouTube, and to whether they think that people watching videos will make use of it. So at this point, 1080p 60, even on Twitch. So Game Capture software, it does stream to Twitch. It streams to multiple streaming services, the most important one being Twitch. Doesn't actually support 1080p 60 streaming. There's a little dial that controls basically everything: your resolution, your bitrate, and your frame rate. And 1080p 60 frames isn't even an option. But even if it was, the kind of people that I expect to stream on Twitch using this card, the kind of streamers, probably won't want it. Or if they do, it wouldn't serve them well. This has to do with Twitch and how only partnered streams, the ones who can run ads and make some kind of money on Twitch, only they have the option for things like quality controls, the little, you can do source quality or multiple other quality levels. If you are just starting out as a streamer, you won't have that option. Everybody has to sort of watch at whatever resolution you're streaming at, with some exceptions, but for the most part, yeah. 1080p 60 is a resolution streamers shouldn't be streaming at, because a lot of people can't watch at that resolution without severe degradation. Sometimes it's just unwatchable. So the recommendation is that until you are a big enough streamer to get quality options on your channel, you should be streaming at something lower resolution. 720p, 30 frames, the bit rate somewhere around 2.5 megabit. These kind of things are, they go against the whole point of buying a 1080p 60 frames capture card. So if you're buying to stream, well, this will stream. Will it stream well? Not really. Will it stream at 1080p 60 like the thing says in the back of the box? Not really. And even if it could, you may not want to. Alright, so now let's go a little bit more into the features of the game capture software, and I'm specifically talking about the 2.0 software that came out with the release of the HD60. There is game capture software that came out for their previous cards. It looks similar, missing some features. So in this version, it's close to what I would say is a one-stop shop. You can capture your gameplay, you can DVR your gameplay, as in it is automatically recording, and you can just sort of rewind and grab something that happened without actually telling it to capture beforehand. You can stream, and you can edit the video clips you captured. You can even capture at one resolution and stream at another one, which is kind of interesting. It will use a lot of CPU power to do that, and we'll go into CPU usage later. But there's some decent features here especially for adding commentary. You can add commentary just with a microphone that lays on top of the video, or you can record to a separate track, which is nice if you want to make a really professional video for YouTube, where you're possibly editing out background noises or other things like that, or you want to do some sort of playing with your video and audio, or some real high-level editing. With that said, the editor itself, the video editor, is very basic. It's bare bones. It's timeline based, which means you can actually flip through the entire video, select clips, delete them, and stuff like that. But it kind of just smashes all the clips together. You can't do a whole lot as far as editing. You can't include your own intro, which a lot of YouTubers like to use. You can't lay stuff on top of the video. The capture, or I should say the edit portion of the game capture software is good enough to throw a video up on YouTube, but if you're someone who has like thousands of subscribers, it's not going to be enough. You may be able to capture with it, but you probably will want to take that video then into different software, whether that's Adobe Premiere, Vegas, whatever you want to do. So, game capture software works pretty well. It does have some problems. So one of the things I mentioned earlier was that USB 2.0 is supported on this card. In fact, it's the only way to use it. There's no USB 3.0 mode at all. And some might say, well, but I have USB 3.0, so why do I care? Why do I care that they made this work on 2.0? The simple answer is USB 3.0 often sucks because it's essentially been developed at the lowest possible cost. There's a AverMedia USB 3.0 1080p 60 capture card. It does the same resolution as this card, and it requires USB 3.0. What you find if you get that card, though, is that a lot of USB 3 chipsets don't support they don't run at the bandwidth necessary for this card. And there's not a lot you can do about it. I mean, the USB chipset is on your motherboard in most cases. If you have a desktop PC, you can add a USB extension card, like a PCI Express card. But That seems ridiculous, doesn't it? USB was supposed to be easy. And so with USB 3.0, it's just not the support from different companies that put these chipsets, these USB chipsets, on their components, motherboards, laptops, desktop computers. Sometimes it doesn't work out. So there's a lot of times, and a lot of customers have complained about this. AverMedia customers complain about their USB 3.0 capture card doesn't work with their computer, or it doesn't work at the highest resolution. It doesn't work how it was intended. With this HD60 though, this is not a problem. It works on USB 2.0, and it does this because it does the whole video compression on the capture card, then sends the compressed version up to the computer over the USB cable. That AverMedia card actually sends uncompressed video up to the PC, and it relies on the PC to do all of the compression. So, does that give you any advantage? The whole capturing or compressing directly on the capture card? A little bit. If you're just using capture, yeah, it does. It reduces the CPU usage on the computer that's capturing. If it's also the computer you're gaming on, if you're gaming on the PC and feeding the HDMI output right into the capture card that is also connected to that same PC, it can be helpful. Otherwise, I mean, it might help you if you're trying to, game on a PC or a console and you've got an old laptop that you're capturing on. Yeah, reducing CPU usage by having the capture card do the compression. Yeah, it's not bad. And the maximum bit rate that the capture card actually grabs at, you can set different bit rates, but the maximum is 40 megabit. That's way higher than YouTube delivers your video at if you upload it. So it's not a big deal that it's, quote, only 40 megabit per second. That's actually plenty. So some more details about capturing. The game capture software has some cool features like, you can add your webcam, you can add your little logo down in the corner of the video. The problem is that you can't actually do that while just capturing. You can only do that while streaming. And if you do that while streaming, if you stream at all, you're going to get pretty high CPU usage, because even though the capture card compresses a video, your PC will then recompress it, whether or not you add a logo or a webcam or not. And I should point out there's a little annoying thing about the logo. There's no transparency on it. So if you have some sort of logo with some cool transparency that you want to slap on top and so that it can be kind of partially see-through, too bad. It's one big rectangular square, and you can't see anything under it. And it's not a huge deal, but if you want a really professional-looking stream, again, you cannot get this when you're capturing anyway. If you want a professional-looking stream, you're not going to be able to do it with the game capture software. So let's go a little further into the streaming. It does work. You can set your game and your little description of your stream right from the software. You can stream it like 720p 30 frames. If you go all the way up to 5 megabit streaming, which is almost reasonable for people to actually look at, you get 1080p 30 frames. I still wouldn't recommend it unless you have quality options. But then if you have quality options, I'd recommend you use something a little more professional. Something that allows you to do scenes and transparent logos and all this other stuff, which means streaming software like OBS. So it's just really hard to recommend this card for streaming. And that's mostly because of the game capture software and because it doesn't work that well with OBS. Now the thing is, with OBS, it sort of supports this card at 720p 30 frames with some caveats and some issues and some possible OBS crashes. I'm led to believe it's actually OBS's fault, not the capture card's fault. But the point is that somebody needs to make it work. I think OBS is wonderful software. It's free, allows you to stream very easily, low CPU usage, way lower than the game capture software can do, and gives you lots of options. It makes a really good looking stream. So based on some forum posts, it's pretty obvious that the developers of OBS want to support this capture card, but there's just a few tweaks that need to be done. I'm not sure how long it's going to take. There's been an update since this card came out, and it didn't fix it. It didn't fix anything that was wrong with this card, so let's hope that happens. By the time you watch this video, it may have already been solved. OBS may work great with this card, and hell, maybe YouTube runs at 60 frames per second by the time you see this video. If that's the case, this is a great card. This will be a great card, because then you don't have to use the game capture software to stream, and if you do, you can use it for the thing it's best at, which is capturing 1080p 60 frame video just to slap on YouTube, which is good stuff. And going a little further into the game capture software, I spent many hours capturing video with this software, and even when you're just doing capture, it can be problematic. Sometimes the software will stop responding. If it does, I recommend leaving it until it starts responding. If you close it halfway through, you may actually your video that you just captured may actually get corrupted, which would be unfortunate, right? And it did for me in one instance where it was early on, and I thought the software was completely unresponsive. It actually, Windows did the whole thing where it grays out the window and says, "This software isn't responding. Do you want to close it?" It got to that point, so I was like, "Well, yeah, because it's not responding." I tried it again later, and it worked just fine if I gave it like 10 minutes to just sit there after a long capture. If you're gonna use it, just if you see that and you're capturing and it freezes like that, just let it sit there. It'll figure it out. With that said, I mean, Elgato's got to get this squared away. They've got all the basic features in, but there's some things they really need to do to get their software, sort of up to snuff. The whole unresponsiveness is a problem. It's a real problem. The streaming support is pretty bad, and they really need to get on the ball and let people choose bit rates and things like that. They need to allow people to, I don't know, have a transparent logo that they can put on their video. I'm not saying they need to have all this OBS support with scenes and crazy stuff. It actually has a thing called scenes, but it's not really scenes because you can't do that much with it. If they could get that going, it would be the best single package solution. With that being said, any YouTuber with more than, 1,000 subscribers is probably using a professional piece of video editing software. And the Elgato game capture software is no substitute. It's good software for those that are casually putting things together and still want high resolution and good looking stuff. Now we just need YouTube, Twitch, and essentially the rest of the game and game video watching world to catch up. If they don't very soon, this card will probably be obsolete and replaced by something better by the time that happens, which would be unfortunate. But as it is now, yeah, you can get some pretty damn good video. Really good looking video off of this capture card. And hey, it does work at the resolutions that, say, the previous generation AverMedia card did. And it's generally not a lot more expensive either. So it's really hard not to recommend this card. They just need the developers need to get a few more software fixes in, and they'll be good to go. The hardware itself is great, and that's the harder thing to fix, right? If the hardware was broken, not a lot of software would fix it. Software being broken, yeah, software could fix it. They just need to update it, and that's the case here. So Atomic Gamer is going to give the Elgato Game Capture HD60 a 7 out of 10, and if they can improve that OBS support or if OBS improves their own support to run properly at 1080p 60, and if Elgato can make their software work just significantly better, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I would. But at this point, It's a 7. I have to rate it based on the software that it is intended to be used with. So that's where it's going to sit. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.